King Alfred's U.S. Descendant says, if I told you yesterday Alec Bohm would go 1 for 5 with multiple bad at-bats, would you believe me? Oh, I sure would. Let me just find a little bit of positive. Can I take one positive? Because he notes Alec Bohm, right? And we all know how we feel about Alec Bohm at this point. I was pretty clear about this on Monday, that Alec Bohm to me is the most frustrating human being on this team. He is a guy who has a world of talent, has a ton of tools that you would want in a third baseman. I think is a valuable player. And if he could fix the shit between his ears, he probably would be a very good player for this team. And in fairness, Alec Bohm isn't exactly being asked to do anything absurd. It's not as if there isn't protection in this lineup. It's not as if Alec Bohm is the focal point of a lineup full of scrubs, and now pitchers just kind of get to pitch around him. That's not what's happening. Alec Bohm is in a lineup where he's lucky to have guys like, and, roll your eyes at some of the names depending on how they're playing at any given time, but like Trey Turner's still a good hitter somewhere in there. Trey Turner. You have Kyle Schwarber. You have Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos. Even on their worst days, those are guys that can hit the gap. Those are guys that can deposit the ball into the seats. Those are guys that ultimately can get on base and still keep a pitcher on their heels, right? Alec Bohm should be better than what he is. Alec Bohm should be producing at a much higher rate than he is. And the biggest problem is really the at-bats just being bad. So much of the Alec Bohm frustration is that it doesn't look like this guy is able to identify things in a way that puts pressure back on the pitcher. And you see a lot of short at-bats. You see a lot of at-bats where he's swinging at shit that makes no sense to swing at. And then you get frustrated. And then you watch last night. He pops out, flies out to end the game. And he slams the bat down because he's frustrated, and he should be. But I don't know what people expect at this point. I mean, remember, the Phillies wanted to trade him, or they at least were more than willing to have conversations around Alec Bohm in the offseason. None of this is a surprise. None of what's happened with Alec Bohm has been a shock. The only time in his career that he has looked every bit of what we hoped he would develop into is the first half of last season, which is why he was at the All-Star game, which is why he was at the All-Star weekend festivities. He played really well in the first half of last season. Second half of last season didn't go as nearly as well. And then you have the start of this year that's been very underwhelming. And so that's kind of left people saying, Edmundo Sosa has played very well, has hit the ball very well. Why aren't we seeing more Edmundo Sosa at third? Well, because there's a law of diminishing returns potentially, right? If Bohm gets benched and Bohm is out of the lineup consistently, there's nowhere else you're going to play him except maybe first base to spell Harper, though you would think that maybe that's a place that Realmuto could play if he needs a day off from behind the plate. So that's not ideal. And Bohm seems like a guy that gets in his emotions enough that if you were to bench him for an extended period of time, it's not going to light a fire under his ass. He very well might just kind of mentally collapse. And if that's the case, you've now really done damage to your lineup, because even though Bohm is frustrating and even though Bohm doesn't look particularly good right now, we have seen him be able to put together good stretches in the past, good enough stretches that allow him to look like he somewhat belongs in this lineup. Now, Sosa's an interesting guy, though, because we have to call it what it was. Sosa made the catch of the year yesterday. Stole a surefire home run, went over the left field fence down at the Atlanta Braves ballpark, reached over the fence, and made one hell of a grab. And the beauty of the Sosa catch is that when he made that catch and the arm goes over the fence, you're like, all right, did he get it? Because initially it looked like he grabbed it. But because you lose sight of the glove, you go, oh man, did it hit the glove? Did he drop it? And then he comes up, and Edmundo Sosa does a little shimmy that he kind of does like a flex, but he kind of does like a shimmy. It's like an Eddie Guerrero shimmy, like he's about to climb up onto the left field fence and drop a frog splash on somebody, right? He kind of hits you with one of these. Great moment. Edmundo Sosa is a lot of fun to watch. Edmundo Sosa is a guy that needs to be in the lineup practically every day. Now, could there be a law of diminishing returns on Edmundo Sosa? Is it possible that you could make a case that if Sosa plays too much, he's not going to perform at the same rate that he is right now? Maybe. Is Edmundo Sosa going to be able to hit 478 the entire season? Of course not. Is Edmundo Sosa going to be a guy that's going to, over the course of a season, if he gets regular playing time, is he going to hit like 350? Is he going to hit 315, 320? Probably not if you play him like 100 plus games. And let me just do a little dive over here. In his career, he's only played 100 plus games twice. 2021 with the St. Louis Cardinals. And then he played 104 games for the Phillies 2 years ago. Played 90 last year. Do I think that Sosa deserves a much longer look? Do I think that he deserves to be in the lineup, especially while he's hot? Hell yeah. He should, without question. Will it, over the course of an entire season, will this insane stretch continue? Probably not. Can you extrapolate that data and then say, oh, it's going to get better? Probably not.